Okay, today we're going to talk about feed wedges. Now, everyone loves a good feed wedge, so let's look at the feed wedge that is inside Pasture-io. Okay, now here you can see we're on the dashboard or the farm dashboard by this breadcrumb over here. So now to access the feed wedge, it's under the reports. So if we click on the reports will fold out. So if our screen is too small, we can always get rid of the map if it hasn't already automatically hidden. Let's bring out the map for now, or better still, let's go over to paddocks and just view all paddocks. So now we've got the map on one side and the feed wedge on the other side. So what we can see with this feed wedge is that we can display the feed wedge with a few different options. Now this is really exciting because there are so many feed wedges that are just limited to just being displayed as what they are. So we can actually interact with this feed wedge really well. So what we can do is we can change the columns to be relative to their area. So if I hover over these bigger paddocks, we can actually see that they are bigger paddocks on the map. So spatially they are bigger paddocks. And we can also see, that we can see this feed wedge with total feed available. So if we just flick on this switch here, and then we can sort the chart by total feed available. Now we can see that these have negative numbers, and that's because they are below the post-grazing residual. So the post-grazing residual on this farm is 1700. So those two paddocks, that's why they fall under the post-grazing residual. So let's go and have a look at those again. See, they're negative. Now these ones are positive because this one would be a big paddock. There you go, LF, lobster flats, and that's because it is a big paddock on this farm. And if we go to have a look at where lobster flats is, it's got 2751. So that's why it has a lot of feed available on that paddock. We can download this feed wedge, which is cool. So you can download it, print it, do whatever you like with it. We can then change the target cover line. Now we can set this up so it automatically changes each month. So you can have about 12 different targets. Now the cool thing about this is that it automatically changes. So it's every month you can get it to change. Like you can get the pre-grazing cover to target to change and the post-grazing. So in winter, you might be pushing a higher target, say around 3100 like this farm is, and then in spring you might be down around 27 to 2900 when the grass is turning reproductive and you want to stay on top of the quality and graze it a lot quicker. So the cool thing about this is that you can get it to change 12 times a year, so which really helps form that subconscious and automated decision making, and it just keeps you on point in terms of getting the best you can out of your pastures and your animals. So as you can see, as we hover over this chart on the map, they are being selected. So what we can do is we can click on an individual paddock and bring up the paddock card, which we can do many more things from. Or we can hold in the shift button and select multiple paddocks and then come down here and say put on a fertilizer activity or whatnot. I'm going to deselect all. I'm going to say, oh, these paddocks down this end of the feed wedge have just been grazed or are in need of some fertilizer. So I can come down here and fertilize those paddocks. Conversely, I could hit this button down here and say, okay, let's spray these paddocks. So we can then spray the paddocks off. So let's deselect those paddocks and go back to the farm dashboard. The feed wedge is a predictive feed wedge. So what we can do is we can change the grazing to-do list over here, or the date. And as you can see, the feed wedge changes too. So to make this a bit bigger, we can see how the feed wedge changes over time based on measurements and grazing and whatnot. So if we go out past where there is a grazing record, So let me keep clicking through here. So now we're entering into territory red, so there's no 0 herds out of 6 have grazing records. So now we can see that the pasture is starting to grow. But not only that, each paddock is growing by its own individual growth rate. So you'll see that some of these paddocks will overtake, like R7, H7. So there's H7, R7's down there. So LF has overtaken R7. H7, R7's down here. And where is LF? LF. There's LF. So M1 and R4 have now overtaken R7. So that's a really cool thing. So we've got a predictive feed wedge, and if you enter your grazings out in advance, then you've got a really powerful decision-making tool that looks out into the short term. Okay, thanks.